friends, welcome back to Making the Most with MG. In my last video, we talked about the four functions behind behavior, but this is also known as the why your children may behave the way they do. I used the acronym SEAT, S-E-A-T, to tell you what each of the four functions were, and they are sensory, escape, attention, and tangibles. Over the next four videos, what I'd like to do is dig a little bit deeper into what each of these functions are and give you some strategies once you've discovered which of the four functions is the reason that your child is behaving the way they are. These strategies will help you to more appropriately handle the behavior and modify it. So let's start with our first one, which is sensory. When we talk about sensory being a reason for a child's behavior, first you need to understand what sensory means. And what it's referring to are your five senses. So your ability to see, hear, taste, touch, or smell something. Behavior related to sensory can happen for a number of reasons. It could be that they are exploring their senses. It's something that brings them pleasure, makes them feel good. It could be used as a source of trying to calm down. Sometimes children can be sensitive to different senses, whether it's sound or lights, and they may start behaving in a certain way to try to block it out or to self-soothe. So there's a number of reasons why it happens, but one of the most important things to remember when you're trying to decipher between if the behavior is sensory or perhaps attention seeking is that this behavior will happen in the presence or absence of other people. So if it's something that only is happening when there is an adult present, it could more than likely be attention seeking versus sensory stimulation. A lot of what you may see when we're looking at sensory seeking behaviors are things like hair pulling or twirling, arm flapping, making repetitive noises, stimming, clicking a pen, tapping a foot. It could be something where they're finding gratification in exploring their senses through pushing on their eyes, and what that does is creates patterns when they pull their hands away, hitting their ears because it creates a ringing sound, slapping their face or their body because of that tingly sensation. So those types of behaviors are examples of how children are trying to explore their senses, or it's something that is bringing them pleasure. You also may see children who are overstimulated by their senses, and those children could be seeking more input. So they may be running around like hyperactive, they could be very hands-on with others. And that is because, again, they're seeking some type of relief in terms of their senses. And there's a difference between that versus a child who maybe wants something from somebody else and they're hitting for that reason. Stimming is a term used referring to self-stimulating behaviors. So this falls under the category of sensory, and typically they are repetitive in nature, whether it's movements or sounds that someone is making. A lot of times that term is associated with a diagnosis of autism. However, everybody stims. It could be something like tapping your foot, clicking a pen. The difference between some forms of stimming and others are really what's deemed as culturally or socially acceptable. So if it is that your child is experiencing something like stimming and it's those large movements that, as I said, may be less culturally or socially acceptable, you can give them a substitute. So instead of flapping their arms, maybe it's something where they're tapping their fingers. So it's something smaller, but it may still provide that same type of input for them. In the case of your children who maybe are a little more hyperactive and they're always touching and hitting, you could give them different activities where maybe they're using their hands like this and just pressing against them to give them that pressure. It could be something where you're having them do maybe wall push-ups or things like that so that they can harness their energy in a safer way. um, you also can retrain them by providing lots of reinforcement when they are doing the more acceptable behavior that you would like them to be doing. So there are a number of ways that you can just redirect that behavior from what is maybe the non-acceptable behavior to something that is better for them to be doing. The other thing you can do is Google sensory bin activities, and you can create sensory bins at home so that your children can explore using their senses. Um, there's a number of activities out there. Hopefully, this helped you out with understanding a little bit more about what sensory is and what those behaviors look like, and how you can address them in a more appropriate way. Join me next time when we are going to talk about the E in seat, and E is for escape. So until next time, have a great day and stay safe.